Hello, Dead Set Coding here. Just going to try something. It's Sunday night and I have work in the morning. I am going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to try to create a street dice game. Um, the whole idea is that it's a pretty simple set of rules and just want to practice some of the things that I've been learning um, and just a bit of a review, getting more comfortable with JavaScript. So what I'm going to do is share my screen eventually. We'll just go over the rules real quick. So I found some rules that had kind of two betting phases, and then like I had a pass bet and a brick bet. Might attempt that as like a next step, but I found some simplified rules. So basically, what it sounds like is you roll. It's a gameplay between two players. Each player rolls to see who will be shooting the dice. The highest person on the first roll would be the shooter. Now the shooter makes a come out. So then there's a bet. So you bet an amount, and then the come out roll is next. And then if it's the first roll, you lose if you roll. Um, let's see, shooter. So you can win if you get a 7 or 11 on the first bet. If you get a 2, 3, or 12 on the first bet, you lose, and you basically lose the money that you bet. So you win even money, I guess. So if you get something other than those five outcomes, then that will become the point number. And so your goal is to try to get the point number before rolling a 7. So that seems pretty simple. I think that it is more simple than this. Um, if the set point rolls around, the brick bet loses. Yeah, this stuff seemed a little bit more complicated, and there was some odds and things like that you had to worry about. So I'm going to try with these simplified rules. Um, and so I think what I'll do is I'll just copy this and I'll create let's create a new file. This will be our um, index.js. Put this in here and just comment this out. So um, couple of things. I did do a dice game a while back, and I might be taking some things from that because I was able to just looking at, let's see, did I share the right screen? Make sure I got the full screen. So, stop my share. Okay. All right, so this was a game that I built, RPG Dice Battle, and I had some pretty good stuff in here. At the time, I was coding a lot every day, kind of like when I'm trying to start back here. So I had this roll dice, and you could pass in a number of dice and the number of sides for the dice. So this was thinking kind of in towards the future that maybe I would be able to reuse this for a multitude of games. I also have this function to sum the dice, and there's also this kind of cool feature to convert the number to text, and then I was able to um, output that to a dice string, and it would basically using I forget what the name font awesome, basically using font awesome to show the dice on the screen as kind of like a font character. I don't know if there is a dice ASCII. I should just be dice ASCII. Maybe you could do this. Oh, there is dice ASCII. So we might be able to do this without using font. Awesome. Cool. 0, that would work. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pretty awesome because I think I could does it work the same way. No, 0, 1. Probably could use that. Well, that's definitely something to think about. So let me copy this. All right, so let's get started. So this would be something to look into. So first we need to identify the player who will be shooting dice. So I think we're gonna need, let's have a player 1 and a player 2. So let's let player 1, I think we'll have it be player 0. So I think that works out easier when you're doing like an array. So let player 0, and that will be our player 1. Let player 1. Okay, so we have two different players. They need to roll the dice. So each player needs to roll. So first thing, let's create that function. And I'm going to be looking at this RPG dice battle game that I made a while back. You can see this was something that I did originally. Let's see. So first for roll dice, we have a function. Let's put it up here. So function, and then this is going to be called roll dice. Oh, we're going to pass in number of dice and also the number of sides. Okay, and then we're going to create a dice array. So that's an empty array. And then now we have a for loop for let I equal 0. I is less than the number of num dice. Then we want to, so we're going to roll for each of the dice. And we want to say let dice equals math floor math random times sides plus 1. And then so that should be 0. No, should be 1, 2, 6. All right, and so what we want to do is add this to our array, dice array dot push dice. And then we want to return dice array. Okay, so what we could do is we could roll both of the dice at the same time, or we could roll one by one. So we could let player 1's dice equal so we want to have each player roll. So, and I think you have to bet before this. So before we see who goes first, players must, oh, okay. So we identify who goes first. That's right now. So see player one, we're gonna say equals we want to roll the dice, and then it's gonna have one die, 6 sides, and we want to get whatever is the first element of that. And basically we want to do the same thing for this, but now we want that. Okay. Why am I getting something bad here? Identifier. So identifier expect. It should return an array. Whatever. Let's just console log that, because it looks like something's weird. Console.log player 1. All right. So got something going on in here. So let's just remove this. Oh, do I just have it like that? I don't need a period, so it's not a method. That's what I was doing wrong. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so we'll save that. Now we should be able to open and integrate terminal. Now let's do node dot, okay, node index.js. Player 2 is undefined. Oh, that's, yeah, of course, because we only sent one. We could roll the dice, so we could call it like something like, we wouldn't have to run the function twice, but this should work now. Okay, so then we need to compare the dice. So that's, okay. Function compare matter. So because I think if you're going to be player 1, so it's going to be, you're going to have to play against an AI opponent. And so if you're player 1, you're going to be rolling the dice, like clicking a shoot button. If you lose the first bet, or you lose the first roll, then the computer will just roll each time. Okay, so let's see. I think we want to do this in just like a very naive way, and just do it through it. So what I'll say is, we need an if. So if player 0 is greater than player 1, okay, then we're gonna, so human, then this is gonna be the UI human interface to allow player to click to roll. Okay. Then if the player loses, so else, then it's going to be computer rolls till outcome. Okay. So a function we likely are going to have would be function determine outcome. So after every roll, and we're going to want to send the dice array. So the dice array. And then here is where we're going to win, lose, win, lose, or play again. So I wonder how we can do that kind of in a sophisticated way. Um, let's see. So what happens if you win? So if you win, we want to return true. Well, maybe true, false, or undefined. So that would maybe return true, false, or undefined, maybe. Not, well, or true, false, or null. Return true, false, or null. Is null false? I think null might be false. Maybe undefined. I think undefined is false too. Not sure. So I won't worry about. So, well, we should try to figure it out. So let's see here. Let's just type in node. We can use this REPL, and we can say we want to compare true equals undefined. Okay, true. What about false equals undefined? Undefined equals undefined. Okay, so we could do true, false, or undefined. Let's see. Does null equal false? Doesn't equal that, but could we say okay, so let's say x equals 8, x equals 9, so let's type in x. So let's let y is undefined. Okay, so if y, then Okay. All right. Yeah, so it could be win, lose, or undefined. So this could be true, false, or all right. So computer rolls until outcome. So we also have to determine the different. Should we use case? I don't really know. So I guess we just have to try it. So um, when we determine the outcome we're looking for, we need to keep track of the roll number. So let's let roll number, should we say times rolled equals 0. And then so if times rolled, we would have to pass that in. We need to know how many times rolled. So if times rolled um, it's not a function. If times rolled is greater than 0, greater than 1, we'll just equals 0. Then we want to say, okay, let's look up case, because case might be the right thing to do. So case statement JavaScript switch, called switch. So maybe switch statement. So default. So if it's oh, switch. This one, I think, with the okay, then we want to say we don't want to pass in the dice array here. We're going to be putting we need a function for some dice. Function for some, or get dice total maybe. Oh, what's a good name for it? What did I call it when I did some dice? Some dice could be fine. Okay, so function some dice. All right, so we need the dice array. Okay, and then what we want to do, we say let num dice equal dice array dot length. So for every dice, for every die in the dice array, we let the dice total equal 0. And then we're gonna do another for loop where we just loop through and sum them up. Maybe there's a better way to do this. This was kind of me. Let I equals 0, I less than num dice dot less than num dice. Do I even need the one num dice? Yeah, I don't even think I need this, so let's just remove num dice. This will just be dice array dot length. And um, let me say dice total equal plus equal dice array. Then we return dice total. Okay, so uh, so we want to send dice total. Dice. We can call it throw total. Okay, so row total. Throw. This would be while we could say while determine outcome. That'll be kind of weird. So I guess what we want to do, I was thinking we could use determine outcome in the test, but I don't like that. It seems strange to me. So we want to figure out who won. So compare, all we're saying is if player won, let's just do this just to get some output here. So we're going to console.log player one goes first. And then here, I'm going to do player two goes first. And let's see how that goes. So we should be able to exit dot exit. And we should be able to player two goes first. Oh, what happens in case of a tie? Good. Well, shit, that worked out. So if it's greater than let's say else if they would have to go again. So we need to loop roll until see who goes first. So do we do something like shooter determined or as like a variable and just say, well, shooter determined is, while not shooter determined, we roll the dice We can try that. Okay, so while we could say shooter determined equals false. Here. Let shooter determined equals false. And we could say while not shooter determined, we want to first roll the dice. I don't think we have to do it like that. So what I think I would say, um, okay, so yeah, I don't think that's very efficient, but that's what we're doing right now. So I think what we can do, keep this. We have a player 0 and a player 1. I don't even think we need this player 1 and player. That's silly. Don't even need any of that. So let's just do this. So we shoot to see who goes first. Um, and let's just do it like this. So we want to determine who goes first. Okay. So what I'm thinking is we're going to roll the dice and we're going to compare the dice. So we can do that stuff later. This will work for now. So we're just going to do it like this for now. We have other things. We can always refine this later. So while we're gonna now we need to compare the dice. So if and that's this part here. So if I think 0 will give us is a falsy value and 1 is a truthy value. So I don't know how we're going to do this, but we want to determine the shooter. So what's going on in my mind is want to determine the shooter and we want to know which shooter is going to go first. So um, we want to know which player that was determined. So else if player 0 is player 1 is greater than player 0, okay, player 2 goes first. Then else the shooter is not, and then it's okay. It can just do the loop again and it will tell us. So first, let's console log these. Console.log player one, and then so one thing is I think we probably want to have, we need to have something like the player's bets. So we have a player one bank. So we want to let player one, player zero, bank equals, say they each have $20. Let player two bank equals $20. And so there's going to be a bet. So player one bet. So whoever is the shooter, what do we have to bet first? Whoever is the shooter will say determines the bet. So shooter will then make a bet. Yep, so shooter makes a bet. So we want to determine, so shooters, so the bet, okay, let bet equals 0. And we're going to do it so the player, it just has to match. This is all part of this. Then the come out roll. All shooter determined. Okay, so we have to set that the shooter, I want to say shooter else. Well, we don't do anything, so we just say shooter determined equals true. All right, so that should fix that. All right. All right, so now that we've determined who goes first. Now there's a lot of questions that remain to be seen. I think we got to work out all the logic to the game, and I'm just going to keep going through one round, and then we'll try to determine how to keep track of the bets, how to keep track of the scores, um, and we'll see how that goes. All right, well, I think that's a good stopping point for today, and I hope that everybody enjoyed this. I think I'm trying to talk a little bit more in the future about what's going on in my mind. Just talk out loud. I'm not really certain about what I'm doing here. Um, so that's one of the reasons why I'm a little quiet. But just want to keep going, keep pressing forward, try to get this completed, um, just as a little bit of a challenge. And then once I get all the logic sorted out, we'll try to display it in a browser. Um, all right. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.